Well, with 2025 officially wrapping up, it's time for all of the year-end videos. I've got at least a dozen year-end videos and at least a dozen tubular awards to give out, but before that I thought I would start with an annual tradition for the channel and talking about some of my 10 out of 10 experiences for the year. Obviously, there were a lot of incredible games released in 2025, some of the greatest games ever made, no hyperbole. And so today, I thought I would celebrate them. These are the games that I played in 2025 that get that illustrious 10 out of 10 from me. Now, a 10 out of 10 is a pretty bold claim, I know, so let me explain. A 10 out of 10 to me does not mean that it is a perfect video game. No video game is perfect. I can point out something bad, something wrong, a negative, a flaw, a con, etc. with every single one of these games. A 10 out of 10 to me means that it's a masterpiece, and I have no problem giving it my absolute highest recommendation, that if you enjoy video games, I'm going to recommend the game to you. And of course, these are just some of my personal favorites from 2025. Now, there were a lot of amazing games that came out in 2025, and I didn't have the chance to play every single one of them. I am just one man after all, working, making these videos, and trying to play as many games as possible. And so what I'm trying to say is, if this list is missing a game or you think I should have included a game, you gotta let me know down below. There's a good chance I just didn't play it, but I assure you it's not for a lack of trying. I've just been pretty overwhelmed this year, if we're being real, and I don't think things are going to slow down in 2026. But anyway, this intro's gone on long enough. Let's get to those 10 out of 10 games. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. I got the Patreon, the super thanks, hype the video, whatever the fuck that means. Any support is truly greatly appreciated. We also have a drama-free gaming Discord that I participate in regularly. Alright, with that in mind, what's the first game? Well, this one was pretty obvious. You knew I had to start with Clair Obscur Expedition 33, easily the fan favorite of just video games in general in 2025. And I mean, at this point, what can I really contribute to the conversation here? It's one of those must-play titles in my opinion. While it is an RPG, a turn-based RPG I might add, I very much think that this is one of those games that anyone can enjoy. Even if you just despise turn-based games, I think you'll still enjoy this game. It has so much going for it. Not only does it look amazing, especially considering it's a AA game, but it just has such a strong story to it. The plot is just absolutely incredible here. The first few hours of the game are so impactful and just hit so hard in ways that I didn't even think were like possible. In the first hour alone, I found myself actually low-key crying over what was happening. It's just so upsetting. It hit me so hard in the feels, and the game is like that the entire way through. It's emotional, it's engaging, and it'll be living rent-free in your head for years. I can almost guarantee it. The characters are absolutely amazing in this game as well. They have so much complexity and depth, and just such a range of emotions that I feel like is rarely seen in video games nowadays. But this game is more than just being pretty and its story. No, the gameplay actually holds up super well also. It's as strong as the story, if not stronger, and that really is saying something. It has easily some of the best turn-based combat I've ever seen in a video game. It very much does take inspiration from other JRPGs, and it wears it on its sleeve. It takes a lot of inspiration from the Paper Mario games where you can counter and there's a lot of time button presses, but this game takes it a lot further than those games ever did. There's a lot of parrying, dodging, and just a whole lot of depth here when it comes to the combat as a whole. If you're good, like really good at your timing, you can pretty much play through the entire game without getting hit. You can parry or dodge everything, and it doesn't matter how under-leveled or how shitty your characters are, you're going to be able to get through the game. There very much is that skill ceiling if you want that, but for most normal people who can't do that, the game still has valleys of depth, especially if you choose to engage with its systems. You can have some strong as hell characters in this game if you really do work with its systems, and by the end of it you can do some really busted shit, but that's only if you want to break the game wide open. You don't need to either. The game never gets that difficult. I think it actually finds a really nice balance. Something else that I very much enjoy about this game's combat is just how different all of the characters are from each other. In plenty of RPGs, a lot of the times the characters can feel rather similar to each other, or they might share moves or abilities, etc. Not this game. This game, all of the characters are wildly different from each other. They all bring something completely different to the table and have completely unique playstyles, which really is saying something. and it leads to, again, just some of the most engaging combat I've ever seen in an RPG. Outside of the combat, it's fine enough. You're just wandering around these mostly linear environments. The game is rather straightforward for the most part. It doesn't give you a compass or a map or anything of the sort. You're pretty much just moving forward throughout these levels. There is like a world hub area to explore, but there's no big open world or anything like that. The game is very direct with what it wants to be, and it was just such an engaging time. The pacing is great. It's always keeping things interesting. Again, the story blows my mind. The combat's really great. It looks nice. The frame rate's actually pretty solid. It's not a stuttery, jittery mess, which is crazy for a UE5 game. And then the soundtrack is amazing. I love the soundtrack to Expedition 33. Like, it was so good. We could be here glazing the game all day, and I'm sure I'll be glazing it for many more videos. But by the time I was wrapping this one up, I immediately knew that it very much was one of those 10 out of 10 experiences that I can recommend to anybody, and I still very much do. So the next one we have here is the roguelike everybody loves talking about, and that is Hades 2. Now, I thought the first Hades was very much a 10 out of 10 experience, and I was pretty surprised that they were making another one, and it absolutely does not surprise me that the second game is also another 10 out of 10 experience. While there are certain things I actually prefer in the original Hades over the second one, like its story and characters, Hades 2 still has a lot going on, and I still think it's an absolutely incredible game. I think the story and characters are still exceptionally well done. Our main character is actually really interesting, and her plot against Kronos is really great, but in my opinion, what really makes the story of Hades 2 as great as it is the other characters. The other characters are really well done in this game. The dialogue and writing and just general world building is super fleshed out and interesting, and I genuinely found myself intrigued by every single character in this game. There's not a bad character here, everyone's very well written, and I enjoyed interacting with every single character, even Kronos. I also absolutely love this game's general presentation, the vibe, the atmosphere, the visuals, just how everything looks, how fluid the animation is, the soundtrack, the sound effects, and how sexy all of the characters look. Like, what the hell? Everybody's fine as fuck in this game. They could have a brick on the ground and it would be a thirst trap. Seriously, this game's presentation is just absolutely incredible, especially considering it's an indie game. But the gameplay is also really good as well. It very much is like the first Hades when it comes to its general gameplay and pacing. It's an action hack and slash roguelike that has runs between 30 to 45 minutes, seeing you go from area to area, wiping everything out on screen. This game's areas are a lot more dynamic than what the first game had, in my opinion, and it does a really good job at keeping things interesting and varied. The combat also feels amazing. There's a number of different weapons in this game, and they're all pretty different from each other. They're actually pretty different from what the first game offered as well, and each one really brings something different to the table, and you'll have just completely different playstyles depending on your weapon, and of course how you start building your character. Since it is a roguelike, you'll get a bunch of random perks, meaning that no two runs are going to be alike. However, unlike most roguelikes, it really does feel like you're actually making some kind of progress every time you do a run. You're not just starting completely from scratch every single time. The game does have a form of progression, and if it's not progression from the gameplay, it's progression in the story or your relationship with one of the characters. You're constantly being rewarded stuff, and you're constantly working towards some kind of meaningful goal, and I really appreciate that about this game. There are plenty of roguelikes I've played where it just kind of feels like I'm bashing my head against the wall hoping I get a good dice roll or luck of the draw so that I'm able to actually complete a run, but here it feels like a lot more is actually in my hands and that I'm always working towards something. Like the first Hades, this game is also pretty difficult, and the game very much expects you to die over and over and over, but you'll start to get the hang of it, you'll start getting hella raw, and before you know it, you'll see the game's actually rather lackluster ending. But outside of that, man, Hades 2, this is a really good one, and I have no problem saying that it's one of the greatest roguelikes ever made, straight up. So the next one we have is one that got a lot of attention and hype when it released, but I feel like it's kind of fizzled out throughout the year, and that is Split Fiction, and I don't really know why this one is fizzled out. Like, I don't know about y'all, but I thought this game was absolutely incredible, and another masterpiece by our man Joseph Fares, and of course, you know, his entire team at Hazelight Studios. This game is just as good, if not better, than It Takes Two in my opinion. I'll be the first to admit that the story isn't the best in this game. It starts out a little slow, our protagonists aren't the most likable, and they don't have a ton of depth or emotional range, but as you play through the game, you really actually come to like them, and you really start to root for them. The antagonist was also just kind of whatever, but it's clear that the story wasn't the focus of this game whatsoever. I wouldn't even say the story was all that great in It Takes Two either. That book was annoying as hell. No, where this game kills it is in its gameplay. I think this has some of the best cooperative gameplay of any video game. Most of the game is actually platforming, though there is a hell of a lot of variety and different gameplay styles that show up here. I think the game actually controls and feels super responsive and tight. It always felt like I had total control over my character, and I would just say that the controls are pretty flawless throughout the entire experience. The level design also is incredibly creative. They're constantly mixing things up, and you'll find yourself going through some pretty crazy environments. But what makes this game really stand out for me is just how much variety there is. While you are doing plenty of platforming, other gameplay types show up here that really mix things up, and it is so creative. It is some of the most creative gameplay I have seen in a video game in quite some time. I don't want to spoil too much here. I'll just say the last third of the game goes really crazy, and it actually has some rather innovative ideas too. This game features plenty of ideas that I just straight up have never seen before in a video game, and I really don't know what Hazelight was cooking over there. They certainly were cooking when it comes to this game's presentation also. It looks amazing, it runs incredibly well. It's just another one of those games where I really have nothing but good things to say about it. I also love just how team-based it is. Everything you do in this game, you need the other person, and you both really play off each other. It was a hallmark of Joseph's previous games, and it absolutely is here as well. Genuinely, one of the best co-op games ever, and I have no problem recommending it to anyone. So here's another one that I just absolutely loved from this year with Donkey Kong Bonanza. This was like the main game that I wanted to get a Switch 2 for. Obviously Mario Kart World and Kirby Air Riders looked pretty interesting, but this Donkey Kong game, oh, this is what had me excited, and this game did not disappoint, and it's easily one of my favorite games of the entire year. And what certainly helps things is that I have a great memory attached to it. This was the game that I played when I went to Korea to get that hair transplant. I was playing this game on the plane, in the hotel. I was just kind of playing it non-stop, and it was so much fun. It was one of those games that I just could not put down. I love just about everything in Donkey Kong Bonanza. Like, it just goes absolutely bananas. Pun 110% intended. The game has a surprisingly great story that starts out pretty shrimple, but there's actually more than meets the eye here. And not only are there a bunch of deep cuts to DK lore, but Mario lore as well, and I just found it all to be incredibly fascinating, especially the last few hours of the game where the game just goes absolutely nuts. And speaking of absolutely nuts, we have the gameplay. I feel like I've been waiting almost my entire life for a game like this, for a game that doesn't look like Minecraft, where you can just absolutely smash everything in sight. And this game, oh, it's got it. It's got some of the best destruction and smashing of any video game ever created. You'll be doing lots and lots of smashing, and for me personally, it just never got old. DK actually has a decently expansive moveset, and you'll be utilizing all of it to get through the game as you smash your way through basically everything, looking for as many banana gems as you can find. But you aren't just mindlessly mashing the Y button the entire time. The game offers plenty of challenges and trials where you actually have to get a bit more creative with your smashing. The game even has more quiet moments where you're just surfing a rock or general piece of land mass across a nice field or even the water. It has those more chill, serene moments. And then of course all of the smashing, especially once the transformations come into play. You get the transformations pretty early and unlock the rest of them throughout the game, and these just go insane. You can destroy so much, and the game actually does a good job at utilizing these abilities as well. While not all of the transformations were created equal, the elephant is by far the GOAT, they were still all exceptionally fun to use. And this game was just so much fun in general. Some of the most fun I've had in any video game in the last few years. It just never got tiresome, it never got repetitive, and genuinely, it never got stale to me. The levels were just getting bigger and more expansive and more interesting. The smashing was becoming more and more intricate. The game was introducing more and more variety. I think the pacing was really solid throughout, and then this is one of those few games where I truly think that they actually saved the best for last. Most video games have their best levels or moments towards the beginning of the game, outside of maybe the final boss itself, because they want to hook you into the game. They're going to show you the best immediately so you actually see it all the way through. DK Bonanza, no. The weakest levels are at the beginning. The most mindless levels, the levels where you really just smash everything, are at the beginning. The later levels actually have a fair amount of challenge, and nuance to them, and the bosses at the very end of the game are actually surprisingly difficult. The bosses throughout the rest of the game are a total joke. You'll just destroy them in literal seconds. But trust me, this game absolutely changes at the end, and it becomes genuinely one of my favorite games like ever. I couldn't have imagined what this game did in my wildest of dreams, and it absolutely does it. It certainly helps that the game looks pretty great, and it has an incredible soundtrack to it as well. Yeah, at times the frame rate can be a little choppy, there can be a lot going on here, and the camera is less than desirable at times. But even with all of this, I still think this game is a 10 out of 10. I give it my highest recommendation, and if you're going to get a Switch 2, this really is the must-play title in my opinion, more so than Mario Kart World. So here's another one that you've probably heard enough about, and that is Hollow Knight Silksong. Now, I'm not even the biggest Metroidvania kind of guy. I've played very few Metroid games, and up until this year, I'd never actually played a Metroidvania Castlevania title. But it's really not hard to see that Hollow Knight Silksong is one of the greatest Metroidvanias ever made. It's just a phenomenal video game overall, and I think it's even better than the first one. It's one of those rare times where, yeah, it was actually worth the wait and it lives up to the hype. The game provides some of the greatest level design you'll find in any 2D game. Everything's so interconnected. It's all meticulously laid out, and the game genuinely has some of the greatest exploration of any video game. It was just a lot of fun to explore the maps, find all of the many nooks and crannies and secrets. This game is just absolutely filled to the brim with secrets. It's also just a gargantuan game as well, one of the biggest Metroidvanias I've ever seen, maybe the biggest along with Shadow Labyrinth, but unlike Shadow Labyrinth, this game is much better pacing, it's constantly keeping things interesting, and I very much wanted to keep playing through it. I was really enjoying my time with Hollow Knight Silksong. I also don't think the game is too difficult. I know a lot of people have complained about that. It's certainly more difficult than the original game, but I very much think it's one of those where it's a good challenge. The long time to get back to some of these bosses though is a bit annoying. But it certainly helps that I think the combat, while rather basic, is still pretty good. I really liked controlling Hornet, I like all of the moves and abilities, and what I really enjoy is that your abilities aren't just used for like one little thing. They're actually used in combat, they're used for platforming, and also to solve puzzles and for backtracking. They're really multi-use and actually feel incredibly fleshed out. Speaking of fleshed out, the game's visuals, the presentation, while it is a bit on the shrimplistic side, I really enjoy how this game looks, feels, and the general aesthetic. The music is also beautiful whenever it shows up, like just straight up beautiful. Now I will admit to you all, this is one that I have not finished yet. I've been playing through it and it's just such a gargantuan experience, but I got no doubt in my mind that it absolutely really is one of those 10 out of 10 experiences and is very much worth your time. If you like Metroidvanias, if you like 2D games at all, this one's worth checking out. So here's one you may or may not have expected to see on the list, and that is Tokyo Extreme Racer. Now, this game came out in early access in January and finally hit 1.0 in late September, and man, this game is so good. Now, before this game's release, I'd actually never played a Tokyo Extreme Racer before, but this game was just so good that I've retroactively gone back and tried a few of the other games, and I can see that yes, this game really didn't change all that much from the original games, but what it really did was brought the series to a modern era, and it's so much fun. This game is about as shrimple as it gets. You drive around the freeways of Tokyo, pull up behind somebody, flash your headlights at them, and then you race. It's as shrimple as that. However, there's no set beginning, middle, and end. It's a battle of two wills. See, once you challenge somebody to a race, if you get far enough away from them, they start to lose their will, or if they crash or you crash into them, they also lose their will. But of course, it works two ways, and it just leads to, honestly, one of the most addicting gameplay loops I've ever seen in a video game. It might sound shallow, and in some ways it very much is. It's not complicated. It's not complex. The game does not overload you with cutscenes and mechanics and all this other crazy stuff. No, it just throws you in there for a quick, addicting, fun gameplay loop, and I think this game absolutely kills it in every sense of the word. Like, I'll be the first to admit, this game can absolutely get repetitive, and it's made for a certain niche of people. Well, guess what? I am that niche. I am those people. This is one of those times where I am the target audience, and it absolutely appeals to me. What certainly helps things is that the game actually controls incredibly well. The game has a great sense of speed, and the progression is second to none. And all of this is just such a breath of fresh air. Like, this game's progression had me so excited. When you start the game, you're in a piece of shit. That car is slow as hell and you're barely even winning any races. But as you play through the game, you get more and more money. You can get new cars, you can upgrade your cars, and the game absolutely makes you work for it. You're not going to be bombarded with vehicles here. No, you'll get a few cars throughout the game and each one will be incrementally better, and by even the midpoint, you are going twice as fast as you were at the beginning, and by the end point, oh, you are just going blisteringly fast. It gets absolutely crazy and it's so rewarding. It's so satisfying and fulfilling. And it gave me dopamine hits that I have not had from any other racing game in years, straight up. Like, I just could not stop playing this game. I actually played this game for 13 hours straight. And you know what I wanted to do the next day when I woke up? I wanted to play more of it, legit, so I did. I haven't had a racing game do that to me in forever, but it was this one. It absolutely was. It was just such a great time. The physics are great, it controls well, the handling is solid. The collision and just general collision detection has gotten a lot better since early access. The game in general has gotten significantly better since early access. Early access was still pretty good, but now, oh, it's great. And while the game isn't an absolute looker, I still think it looks nice enough and it actually runs super well also. Pretty rare for UE5, it feels like. The music is pretty much goated. There's a bunch of fun remixes of old tracks, but there's a bunch of new good stuff here. Yeah, no, this game is just phenomenal. It very much is not a game made for everybody. I'm sure there are plenty of people that are going to come in and go, wow, this just gets super repetitive and lame. I don't like this. Well, then it's probably not for you. But for people like me, oh, loved it to pieces. I also love the little stories they throw in here and there. It was better than really any story you'll find in any Need for Speed game. But I don't want to throw any more shade around. I'll just say, check out Tokyo Extreme Racer, especially if you like driving games. And then the last game that I want to throw in there is a late edition one that I've finally gotten around to, and that is Ghosts of Yotei. I have absolutely been loving this game. I loved Ghost of Tsushima, I thought it was a great game, and Ghost of Yotei is really more of the same. While I'm not going to sit here and tell you it reinvents open world gaming, it very much refines that wheel to the best that it can possibly be. You know, earlier this year I played through Assassin's Creed Shadows and I just couldn't bring myself to get very far in it. This game just shits all over AC Shadows and I have no desire to ever go back to it now. The story's better, the open world is better, the side content's better, the combat is better, it looks nice. Yeah, it's pretty much just night and day. It's the better game. I actually quite enjoy this game's story. I really like how they build up the Yotei 6 and make them pretty interesting. At first I wasn't really feeling it too much, but then yeah, it really actually picks up and I think the story is pretty decent. Is it as good as Jin's story in the previous game? I don't know about that, but it's still nice no matter what. And something that I don't think anybody is going to deny is just how beautiful this game is. It's one of the best looking games you'll find, period. Like Ghost of Tsushima still looks great. This looks even better with some stunning landscapes, excellent lighting, characters look really good, not even close. This along with Death Stranding 2 are like the best looking games of the year. When it comes to what you're doing in the open world, there's a fair amount of exploration, but there's plenty of other people to interact with, plenty of quests to take on, and plenty of bandits and outlaws to kill. And I think it creates just some of the most compelling open world gameplay you'll find, period. I thought that all of the quests, at least what I've done so far, were engaging, intriguing, and some of them were as good as mainline quests, legit. Additionally, I think the combat is also very good. It's just as good as it was in Tsushima. It feels solid. There's a nice flow to it. You can switch between different weapons, which is cool. And it is not anywhere near as tedious as, say, Assassin's Creed Shadows combat was. Like, this was way more enjoyable. The stealth low-key might be better as well. Okay, the stealth might actually be better in AC Shadows, but it's good in Yotei as well. A little basic, yes, but it's also very much functional. And then on top of this, the game just has such a wonderful aesthetic and vibe to it. Like, the world actually feels super lived in, and it just has so many stunning landscapes. They knew exactly what they were doing with this. This is a game world you would want to live in, and it's one of those premier Sony experiences. You know what I'm talking about. And if you're somebody who doesn't enjoy those kinds of experiences, this isn't going to change your mind. But if you're somebody who even remotely likes them, oh, you're going to like this. It is one of those must-play PS5 titles, and I got no problem giving it a 10 out of 10, my highest recommendation. All of these games have been 10 out of 10s in my opinion, and I think all of them are worth playing. But I would love to know, what are some games in your opinion that are absolutely worth playing? There were a few games I didn't play this year that I really wanted to. I didn't really get to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 or The Outer Worlds 2, and I probably should have had Mind's Eye on here, but it is what it is. Anyway, that's it for today. See y'all later. Have a good one.